Welcome to Corporate Finance. We're going to jump in the deep end of the pool here and start with the time value of money. The reason we're doing that is corporate finance has everything to do, in all of finance really, has everything to do with the time value of money equations. And if you can't get the time value of money equations, finance is not going to work for you. It is absolutely essential that you understand the time value of money. And we're going to go over it the first week and it'll carry through the entire course. So let's dig in and get into the time value of money. Now, when we start thinking about the time value of money, it's the cornerstone of finance. Once you understand this, everything else falls into place, and without it, money matters can be quite a mystery. However, once you understand this, with this you are empowered to make your own financial decisions because you can do the math yourself. You can calculate your own mortgages, you can calculate your own home loans or school loan interest payments or your own retirement or all kinds of financial decisions. Everything that revolves around finance revolves around the time value of money. It is absolutely the cornerstone of finance. You have to know this. Now, I take a little different take on money. When somebody says something about money, I start to want to discuss what money really is. So I'm going to put just a little bit of segment in here that's probably not in, well, it's definitely not in your book, but you probably haven't heard it before. And I want you to just think about money a little bit differently. And this kind of comes out of my behavioral finance course, but I think it's very important. If we're going to talk about money, we should put it in perspective. So when we think about money, what is money? And I've asked students this all the time, and I get a wide variety of answers. And I would tell you that money is the way we transfer work from one person to another. So if most people get money from work, they do some job and somebody feels they're valuable and they hand them money and they get that money, and what do they do with it? They turn around and spend it. And when they spend it, somebody else works for them. So I'm working for you, you're going to give me money, and I turn around and spend it for somebody who works for me. So it's the way we transfer our work from one person to another. Imagine if we didn't have money to facilitate commerce. If we didn't have money to facilitate commerce, if I wanted bacon and eggs, I'd have to go find a pig farmer and a chicken rancher and barter for teaching finance to them, and they would give me bacon and eggs, and then I could have breakfast. But how many times are they going to want to take a finance class? Well, probably not very many. And how many customers do they really need? Quite a few. So it's going to be very difficult. The barter system just doesn't work. We need a way to have liquidity throughout the system. So if we think of money as in cash would be a way to store our work. We could store it in other things such as a house or an office building or other assets. But cash is really the most liquid way to store work. Cash is king after all. So when we think of money, we get cash. Well, cash really is just a way to store our work. What money really is work. And if we think about money in terms of work, the thing we can do is change our decision making just slightly, just tweak it just a little bit, and take the money out of it instead of this concept of money, which most people are not unsure of, and just turn it into hours. So if you wanted to buy a pair of shoes, for example, for $100, and you earn $30 an hour, if you had $100 shoes, you earn $30 an hour, how many hours do those shoes cost? Those shoes cost 3 hours and 3.33 hours. 3 1/3 hours is how much you have to work to pay for those shoes. Now, when you think about that, think, oh, okay, that doesn't sound too bad, 3 hours, a pair of shoes. What if you're in $20 an hour? Well, now it's 5 hours for that pair of shoes. What if you're in $10 an hour? It's 10 hours for those pair of shoes. So you can see that all of a sudden our decision making changes slightly. So we'll get into this more into the calculations when we get into the time value of money. But if we can just tweak it a little bit and start thinking about how many hours something takes to earn the money to pay for what we're doing, we can turn money into something a little bit more tangible. So if you think of $100 as 10 hours of your time, it changes your decision making just slightly, or at least for some of us it does. And of course, if you're making $200 an hour, then it's very easy to say, oh, $100 shoes, that's 30 minutes. I'm good with that. So if you tweak your spending just a little bit, every time you buy something, say, how many hours is this really going to cost? You might change your spending habits. Let's move on to debt.